Converted when the something man converted. I had a plan with the song, but I didn't do it. Oh, I'm on. Yes. Hi, how you doing? What's going on out there? Okay, so I randomly stumbled onto this book and I read some of it and it annoyed me. So now I'm gonna share some of it with you and annoy you with it. I mean, I'm assuming that you would be annoyed by this as well. Um, I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't be. But anyways, this is called Unapologetic. Why, despite everything, Christianity can still make surprising emotional sense. And I thought my title was long. Caught between an infinite hope and a finite despair. Now on Amazon. That's my book. So my book's better than his. It's probably shorter too. And mine probably, I don't know. I haven't been told by anybody yet, but mine probably will make you pull out your hair and slam your face into the desk and cry out for the madness to stop. So this guy Francis Bloodford, pretty sure I said that wrong. Don't care. Francis, are you wearing a toupee? Okay. Anyways, Francis has some what do you call it? Some things to say and complaints to lob at atheism, but goes about this in this just bass backwards way. It's just weird. So this bit starts with, my daughter just turned 6. Sometime over the next year or so, she will discover that her parents are weird. We're weird because we go to church. Already, the self prosecution and flogging begins. I can just picture this guy with that whip, with the flogs, the many strands on the end with knots, and just whacking his back. Ah, oh, pity me, I'm so persecuted. Look at how persecuted I am. I gotta say though, I don't believe you already, because where is she going? This was written a while back, so his daughter's older than 6 now. But let's see, it was published 2013, so there's math involved that I'm not going to do, and his daughter's older. But at any rate, who did he think that she would be around that would be telling her anything contrary to their beliefs? Because presumably he's going to take her to their church, and they're going to do that. And, like, does he think that that's going to happen at the school that she's going to? Who is he hanging around that's supposedly going to be telling her this? So I really just don't believe that this is a real fear of his. Maybe it is, and that's kind of scary that he is so paranoid about the outside world telling his daughter that they're weird because they go to church. Oh, you're weird. Your parents are weird. They go to church. Like, who cares? That's like not something that 7-year-olds or anyone at that age, any teachers, they're not going to say anything at all about church. I don't think. The parents, would parents be taught? Who exactly do you think is going to be telling your daughter anything like this? It's nonsense. It's not weird that people go to church. This is very common and very much part of the zeitgeist of the culture. So this is just pure uh, pity me martyrdom coming out of the gate. This means as she gets older, there's going to be voices telling her that what it means, getting louder and louder. By the time she's a teenager, they'll be shouting right in her ear. Again, What people? What are you talking about? Who are you talking about? You're making up people now that you think that she'll be interacting with. Like what? Kids at school? Now, look, maybe school has changed. I don't know what school you're sending her to or planning to send her to, but nobody talked about religion at all in the schools I went to. Like, it wasn't even at, like, I gotta say, like, even at religious school, like, well, that's all you talk about all the time. But it's just, if you're that afraid, you could send her to a Christian school or something. It's just like, who do you think is going to be saying this to her? So this is more just projection of fear that this guy has internalized, that the whole world is going to be telling his daughter that they're weird for going to church. Yeah, I wish. I mean, it's not like that now. Okay, it might be that you could do this and get away with it if, like, you believed in New Age stuff, maybe. You're all into crystals and, like, spirits and guidance and gurus. Maybe if, like, you went to the psychic every Sunday, right? Psychic, there's one psychic store slash house in my area. One. And there's, like, I don't know how many churches, like 10 plus 12, 20, some crazy number of churches around. So it's really common and normal to go to church. It's uncommon and not normal to go in the psychic place, you know. So if you switched that and there was one church but like 20 psychic places, then it would be normal to go to psychic places. So the zeitgeist of the place that you're in must be like mega atheistic for you to make this sort of complaints. Otherwise, I just don't know where this is coming from, because in America, it's very much still religion is accepted and celebrated and part of the zeitgeist and part of the background of everything. It's there. In certain places you can't go 10 feet without walking to another church. So I just it's pathetic. But he's not done. Oh no, he goes on. It means that we believe in a load of Bronze Age absurdities. It means we don't believe in dinosaurs. Well, look, yes, you believe in things from the Bronze Age. That's when the Bible was written. So, too bad. Whether it's absurd or not depends on what parts of the thing you believe in. And yeah, some people don't believe in dinosaurs that happen to also be Christians. That's a you problem, not an us problem. Religion can't fix that. Theology can't fix that because there's no coherent system of theology. Theology is not like science, where in science you might have different ideas from different people come in, right? And they all collide together, and they all are talking to each other, debating each other, etc. And at the end of this process, however long it might be, you get like maybe three or maybe two or maybe just one that wins, that becomes a consensus over time. So it's like this best explains things. There might be some other ones, but it's like this one explains it best, so that's the one we're gonna kind of throw our support towards, at least until new data comes along. You don't get that with theology. You don't get, look, this is the way that all churches should interpret this verse or whatever. Now, the Catholic Church tried to do that, but they failed. They splintered. And of course, Martin Luther, splintered it more. And you've got the Protestants, and then from the Protestants, they split more and more and more. And you've got bazillions of denominations. So different churches have different ideas of how to interpret the Bible. And some churches, their pulpit has people saying there are no dinosaurs. And they believe that nonsense because why not? Dinosaurs aren't in the Bible, so therefore dinosaurs didn't exist. And if you listen to enough nitwits that say that that is true, you might believe that that is true. That's a you problem. But probably not that many people are going to assume that you don't believe in dinosaurs or assert that you don't. So this is just a construct straw man of what your imagined opponent is going to be saying to your daughter about you and your beliefs, which they wouldn't. Like, again. And then wouldn't they be saying it about her beliefs, not your? Because who cares what your parents believe? They care what the kid believes. Maybe they're insulting the parents, just to irritate the kid. But that's not how bullying works, really. Usually, anyways. So just the absurdity of this. Okay. Anyways, he goes on. It means we're dogmatic, that we're self righteous, that we fetishize pain and suffering, that we advocate wishy washy niceness, that we promise the oppressed pie in the sky when they die. I love that. That's quite clever there. The pie in the sky when they die. Yeah. Okay. That we're bleeding hearts who don't understand the wealth creating powers of the market. Uh, no. Actually, my experience when I was a Christian, like everybody was Republican. It was like that was just the thing. Like it wasn't really a big deal or like even really said, but it's just kind of like I assumed everyone was Republican. And I didn't know what the hell Republican was. So, I don't know that it matters because I was young. Even as a teenager, it's like I don't know what the bleep that means. But this one kid in youth group is like, oh, he's a Democrat. Oh no, it's like, why are you a Democrat? What's that mean? It's like, isn't everybody a Republican? Or. And so again, it's just something that depends on the church because some churches are going to be Republican and some churches are going to be liberal and some churches are going to be a mixed bag. But you don't really talk about politics, hopefully, in church because it doesn't, do well as far as that. But my experience of my Christianity, at any rate, was just kind of assuming that everybody was the same politically, and nobody ever said anything, so it wasn't even a thing. Uh, but I think it's fair to say that the conservatives are more aligned with the religious, or that the religious are more aligned with the conservatives, and there's some reasons for that. The political nature of the right is more in line with some of the Christian viewpoints. Now, whether that's by accident or design, who knows? So, abortion, uh, that's big one. For example, like not all Republicans are against abortion, but many are. And well, why? Well, maybe because they're religious, or maybe because of some other argument or whatever. And you'd have to ask. But because they hypothetically, or they might just be saying, "Oh yeah, we're against abortion," just to get votes. Whether they actually are or not, who knows? But that's part of their base, and you can't really get elected, at least not to high positions. Although I think there was a senator that was a open atheist for a while, at any rate, or uh, he might have been a representative. At any rate, it's really, really hard, if not impossible, to get into serious political power as an open atheist. And many people, they've done surveys on this and whatever. And I don't know the last time they did a survey on this, but most people said they would not vote for somebody no matter what they were about if they were if they said they were an atheist, just for that fact alone, that they don't trust atheists, that they wouldn't vote in an atheist. It doesn't matter what their politics are. It doesn't matter. That's all I need to know is they're an atheist. I don't trust them. That's it. So that's real. That's an actual thing that can be discovered is true. So you have to pander and pretend. You have to say something about God. God bless America, or something, like that, at some point in your campaign. I if I ever ran for anything, which I wouldn't. Well, maybe, I don't know, just for fun, but I wouldn't. But, to get those votes, you have to like pretend to be kind of in with them. But at any rate, I don't think that they would say you're open heart liberals. I just don't. I don't see how that complaint would be an actual complaint lobbed at the typical Christian person that I am familiar with. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe he's in a very liberal area in a very liberal church, and the way that this guy writes and speaks in that writing, I have to think that that's true because this guy swears in this book. And I've heard Christians swear, but it's very unusual to have Christians swearing in such a public way. And of course, books are a public thing. So it's just very weird for me. Anyways, I don't know. So I don't believe it, basically, is what I'm saying. Okay. We're bleeding hearts. Bleeding hearts associated with liberal. That's why I went off in that little way. Okay. And the wealth creating powers of market. Again, that's, so he's playing some politics in there. And no, if anything, you would be, accused of being, too much of a capitalist, or something like that. But whoever. He goes on that we uphold the nuclear family with all its micro tyrannies and imprisoning stereotypes that were the harshest enemies of the ordinary family pleasures of parenthood, uh, uh, shopping, sex, and car ownership, that were savagely judgmental, that were free murderers to kill again, that we think everyone who disagrees with us is going to roast for all eternity, that we're as bad as Muslims, that we're worse than Muslims because Muslims are primitives who can't be expected to know any better. Oh my god. Wow, who would say that in this day and age? You'd be called what is it? Not Muslim, Islamophobic or something. Oh goodness gracious! That we're better than Muslims, but only because we've lost the courage of our convictions. That we're infantile, and can't do without illusionary daddy in the sky. Yet we destroy the spontaneously and hopefulness of children by implanting a sick mythology in your minds. That we oppose freedom, human rights, gay rights, individual moral autonomy, a woman's right to choose, stem cell research, the use of condoms and fighting AIDS, the teaching of evolutionary biology, monetary progress. Well, look, again, and this is his writing. This is what he said. He wrote this in a book. You can buy this book. He wrote this self-flagellating straw man construct of what he imagined somebody telling his daughter, like, somewhere between the ages of 7 and teenager. Like, who the bleep is gonna say this? It's just so nonsense. These are things that might be said about some religious people. It depends on the person. It's not something that I don't. Well, maybe somebody somewhere painted with such a broad stroke that they categorize all Christians like this, but I've never heard or read anything like that. The most anti-religious guy, bitch spot blah. That's the most anti-religious guy I know right now, and he does great, I think, making fun of religious people and their beliefs. I don't think he would say all this like that. It's just maybe he would, but but this is just like so packed with. These are all things that could have been said or might be said. These are like he wishes somebody would say this to him about his. Why not just say, I think that people believe that I believe this. I don't. Here's what I actually believe, and then go on to defend that belief. But that would take some courage and conviction. I don't think this guy has that. So it's easier to create this construct straw man and pretend that some illusionary made up somebody is telling your daughter all these things about you. Oh no! And if any of them are true at any level, then fix that. And if they're not, then don't worry about it. Because they're not true, and it's going to be evident to her that they're not true. So if they're not true at all at any level, then you have nothing to worry about. If they're true at any level, then you do have something to worry about, and you should fix it because it's your system to fix. You're part of the Christian thing. Your church is part of that. But of course, that's not what he's writing this book about. He's writing it really for to kind of make a proclamation against atheists, I guess. He's really upset at atheists. Like I that's what I'm reading into it. Maybe a bit much there, but I think he's just. We'll get into a bit more later, like that he gets into. Actually, I think I'll skip to it because I'm not going to read all of this because I wrote on my blog the whole thing that he has, and I respond to it in my blog. Um, you know, nuclear family and all this. Not all Christians are that way, actually. There are pros and cons to the so-called nuclear family as far as having definite roles or whatever. I don't think you can actually do that in this day and age just because of how much things cost. The man and the woman, or the both of the men, or both of the women, or whatever, they're going to have to both be working if they want a house at all, and even then they might be only able to afford an apartment or something because pay is such crap these days. But it depends on what kind of job they have, I suppose. It might be that the woman has the really good job and the dad winds up staying at home as a stay-at-home dad or whatever, and that can happen even in Christian families or religious families. And many churches are seeing that, recognizing that they have to change with the times or die out. So if they keep preaching against those sort of things, that church will be one that you probably won't go to if your family isn't like the traditional family. So I don't think I would lob it as an accusation because even if you uphold the nuclear family, maybe you have a good argument for that in and of itself, separate from the religion. And it doesn't affect me because however you want to do a family, that's your thing, not mine. So I don't care, but it's just not. As far as the Muslim thing, and yeah, there was kind of this lob of that Christians don't have, they're not, they don't have the strength of conviction that Muslims do, because Muslims read, some of them at any rate, read the Quran and go, kill your enemies. Okay, that's who are my enemies? Everybody that's not a Muslim. Okay, that's what you said to do. That's what I'm going to do. Now, in the Torah or Old Testament, it says all these things about killing people and doing all sorts of crazy stuff with stoning to death. And if you stopped there for some reason, like you read all 613 commandments, and you were like, okay, that's how God wants me to live, you wouldn't fit in society. But Jews of today don't do those things mainly because the temple is gone. Like, that's their main reason, they say, for not doing these things. So does that mean if the temple was ever restored that they would again take up these practices? Maybe. Would that be allowed by society? Maybe, maybe not. Would we allow a religious group of people to stone to death their own group of people? Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. I don't know. It's hard to say where does religious freedom end. And you have the snake dancers there that every now and then there'll be somebody that gets killed from being bitten. And I think that they play it somewhat safe by not having kids do that. And maybe they're not that big of a group, so they're people really don't pay that much attention to them anyway, so they probably get away with stuff. But at some point, you got to draw the line and say your religious freedom stops when it hurts somebody else. But that's really hard to codify into law. because you could say your indoctrination of the kids is harm and therefore is illegal. Therefore, you can't teach your kid your religion. And we want freedom of and from religion in the United States, or at least that's what I've been told we want. Maybe not. Maybe some people don't want that. I don't know. Um, and it's a kind of this open question of how do we steer society in a better way or in the best way where we have less of the nonsense and more reason and logic and science and stuff like that. It's a good question, and it's a question even for the religious, because it's like, look, yeah, you can have your beliefs, but you have to get rid of some of these bad stuff. You have to leave the stoning behind. We don't want to do that anymore, okay? And you can make up whatever excuse you want. I don't care. I don't understand why you just don't get rid of that part of the Bible entirely. Just say, well, that doesn't exist anymore. The Mormons at least change their book every now and again. They update it. It's like, no, it doesn't say that anymore. It says this. Oh, that's what it's always said. Okay, sure, why not? But religion, a lot of religion's tied to tradition, so that might be part of it. Uh, but this sort of persecution complex is something that Christians, like, sometimes, not all. I don't want to be, but certain Christians, this one particularly, has this persecution. I need to be persecuted. If he's not actually being persecuted for real, he's going to make a persecution. Now, some of these things are legitimate complaints, but he's clumping them all together as if this is what somebody would really say and think about him, and really say to his daughter. Goodness forbid we ever talk to his daughter about anything. You know, there are, in the Catholic Church, they do not want people to use contraceptives. They don't like condom use in the condom church. In the Catholic Church. In the condom church. That sounds like that's a safe church to go to. In the Catholic Church. Now, some Catholics have changed from that. And what's the Pope's position right now? I don't know. But at any rate, that is a thing. It's not a thing you can throw at Christians. I would throw that probably at Catholics. So I'm guessing that this guy's a Catholic. Yes, some Christians are against the teaching of evolutionary biology. They think evolution's a religion. They think it's fake. I just read a whole comment from a guy who's like, here's all these nonsense videos that don't prove any of his points are true, that he thinks he does. Plus, evolution is false because soft dino tissue. And thanks to Tony Reed, I just subscribed to like a very young sounding boy on YouTube who's explaining science at a level that just is amazing. Now, I don't know if if he's just using it, his parents are getting him to do this, or if he knows this stuff, or I don't know. Who knows? But at any rate, it is something that the creationists fight against. And creationism is a byproduct of Christianity. That's you guys' problem to deal with. That's not the fault of the atheists or skeptics or non believers or people of other faiths. That's your problem to fix. So if you don't like that people might think that about you, then get the believers that believe in that to stop believing in that. Teach them somehow convince them. And I tried when I was a Christian. It didn't work. I tried as a non-Christian. It didn't work. You can't get people to untwine this twisted wrap of evolution is false and God exists, and if evolution is true, then there isn't a God. For whatever reason, they believe in this dogma so much that they've made that into their God. The idea that God can't use evolution is for them abhorrent and evil and vile and a lie and whatever. That's a Christian problem. It's not a skeptic problem. It's not an atheist problem. It's not an agnostic problem. That's a purely person of religious belief problem. Muslims have creationists as well. Hindus have creationists. I think there might be some Jewish creationists out there. I don't know what other religions might have creationists in them, but that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. So go fix it. Instead of, no, they're gonna think all these things, and they're gonna say that that's the sort of people we are. And okay, well, what are you gonna do about it? Cry about it in this book? Or are you actually going to say that's not what we should be about? Then who are you talking to? If you're Because obviously you're just talking to other Christians. And yeah, atheists are going to read your book. I'm reading it, so good on you. You got me. But come on, just. By the way, anybody, if there, I don't know, yeah, there is Germania. Hi. I was gonna say, if anyone's in chat, I'm not looking at chat. I'm reading this, so I don't even see my screen right now. But so let's see. Uh, where was a bit? I wanted to skip ahead a bit because there was one thing I really wanted to harp on. Let me see. Let's see. Okay, so he goes on, and then he gets to this billboard on a bus. This happened a while back. It actually happened before he wrote or got the book published, I think. But there was this bus, I think it was, I want to say London, or I don't know, it was around. There's a billboard that said like, you know, God probably doesn't exist. Stop worrying about it, or something like that. Let me get to it. Where the bleep was it? Can't find it in the own damn thing that I just wrote, or his thing that he wrote of what did. Uh, okay, so he says the atheist bus says. He goes from saying atheist billboard or slogan or however you want to put it to the whole bus is an atheist. Oh, well, why not? If rocks are atheists, I guess buses are atheists. Whatever. There's probably no God. Now stop worrying and enjoy your life. Okay, so that's all the slogan says. Obviously, some atheist group paid for that. Whatever. So, no, there's probably no God. Now stop worrying and enjoy your life. That's it. It's a slogan. Okay, it's a bumper sticker, right? So there's probably no God. Yeah, probably not. What do I mean? Which God? I don't know. What you got? Probably not. And then stop worrying and enjoy your life. And there's some assumptions being made there. If we're going to analyze this, which is what he attempts to do, I kid you not, he attempts to analyze an advertising slogan, but he does such a bad job about it. He just goes in the most ridiculous way. If I was going to analyze this and break it down and do some critical analysis, really hard to do with a small sentence, but okay. I'd say, okay, so probability, what are you basing that probability on? Which God are you referring to? You're assuming that I'm worrying. Maybe I'm not worrying. You're also assuming that I'm not enjoying my life, and perhaps I am. So there you go. There's complaints about it as it's actually written that are legitimate complaints you could make in an analysis of it. But he doesn't do that. No. No, he doesn't do that. Um, so he says, all right then, which which word here is the questionable one, the aggressive one, the one that parts company with actual recognizable human experience so fast it doesn't even have time to wave goodbye? Wow. Did that slogan upset you there a little bit there? I think it might have upset him just a little bit. I think it really irritated him. I think he started writing this book when he was on the way. He was waiting on a bus. A bus came by, had this slogan on it, and he sees these other people around, and he's like, "Those would be good characters in my book. I'm gonna write those." Because he what? So he says it isn't probably. He's not upset by that word. Okay. He says that that's just as much of a guess for them as it is for me. So yeah, but you don't say there's probably a God. If you're a Christian, I doubt very much that this guy is going around going, "There's probably a God." Start worrying and don't enjoy your life. Like that wouldn't be a slogan that you see, right? So I think that you would say there is a God. I don't hear theists say there's probably a God. I hear them say there is a God. And so even as a hard-boiled, jaded skeptic, I'll say there. In regards to God, I don't believe in it, but there's no God? I can't say that because I don't even know what the word God means. I'm an atheist in regards to the word, but there's no Yahweh, I'll tell you that, which is the Christian God, or could be seen as the Christian God. So now we have a debate, right? Now we have something I have to support because I made a positive claim, yada yada yada, and I have to have an argument, etc. And I do. But at any rate, as far as the general word God, I don't believe in it. I couldn't put a probability to it. It's like, I don't know, it might be something that I don't even know what it would be. I don't know why we would call it God or if that label is even useful. But sure, why not? If it's possible, it's possible. I don't know that it is possible. I don't even know how I would figure out the possibility because I don't even know what the bleep it is. And that's up to the person making the claim to say what it is and then support how they know what it is and then to demonstrate to show that's what it is. And that's all their burden. It's not mine. Um, so he says the word that offends against realism is enjoy. This is him again. This is what he wrote. The word that offends against realism here is enjoy. I'm sorry. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. I'm not making some kind of Puritan objection to enjoyment. Enjoyment is lovely. Enjoyment is great. The more enjoyment, the better. But enjoyment is one emotion. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay. Like, so he really took offense at the word enjoy here. Okay, fine, whatever. Then he says this. This is a bit that I wanted to really get to in this particular talk that I'm doing. The only thing, so this is him again. What's his face again? What's his name? Francis, right? Hey, there's some nerdy rodents and some Keiths in the chat. Okay, so the only thing in this world. So this is coming from I can forget his name again. Francis. I forgot his name again. How little I think of this guy. The only things in this world that are designed to elicit enjoyment, and the only enjoyment are products, and your life is not a product. What? So now look. I've talked every now and again about natural language, which is the concept in logic, okay, in the philosophy of logic that I'm somewhat familiar with. There's this idea that is called natural language, which is that any language we use as humans that is not an artificial one is going to have problems with it. Now, specific to English, but might be shared by other languages, is that words have multiple meanings and multiple uses and mean different things to different people. So the problem is of natural language that logic cannot resolve is that whenever I say everything I'm saying right now, I'm assuming you know what I mean, and you are interpreting everything I say in a certain way. Now, some words that's not a problem; other words it might be. So if I say a word you've never heard before, you're going to want me to define it or explain it. But what if I explain the word with other words that you also didn't understand? And I guess I would say as an analogy to the problem would be I'm gonna have to pull from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm a nerd. There's this scene with Data, who's this emotionless android. He doesn't have emotions. And then one day, it's in Descent Part One, because I'm a nerd. I know this. And in that episode, Data gets angry at the Borg, which are a bad guy. Okay, and he's explaining to his friend Jordy later on, I got angry. And Jordy's like, no offense, but how would you know what it is to get angry? And he's like, well, can you describe what angry is like? And he's like, well, first I get frustrated, then I get belligerent, then I get. And he's like, okay, but how, So finally, Data says to Jordy, he's like, can you explain angry without referencing another emotion? And Jordy's like, I just get angry. Data's like, that was my experience. I just got angry. And he shakes his fist the same way Jordy shook his fist. Because there isn't really a way to describe the feeling of anger or any other emotion without other emotions. So words require other words. And so it's like you never get to the end of the definition chain. You have to have some core uh, bit of understanding to define a word is to understand the other words that define it, but then you have to define those. You could go on and on. So for the most part, in our normal day-to-day mundane conversations that we have with each other, or even in the extraordinary conversations we might have with each other, in fact, maybe there it's more of a problem. That's why legalese gets so darn weird and technical, maybe, is because they've created kind of an artificial language for law. And for better or worse, you now need you need a lot of study to understand that language. And maybe it shouldn't be that way. Maybe it should be very plain English so everybody can understand it. Or maybe it should be more technical, or computer languages. You look at that and you go like, what the bleep nonsense am I looking at if you don't read computer language? So these artificial languages that we've constructed have certain formulas to them that are perhaps mathematically understood or whatever. They're more formulaic, so they're more precise. In science, you try to drive towards precision so that the word that you use is the word that you need. But sometimes scientists, for whatever reason, use common words that we use, but they use it in a different way. Of course, theory being the most misused one. And I'm like, why did you guys call it theory? Why didn't you guys call it something else? Why can't we just call it something else? No, that's what theory is. Like everyone keeps like the game theory. It's just a theory, a game theory. Like Matt Pat, stop it! You're making it worse. You know. But the word theory in science is like the highest thing that you can be. I'm like, well, let's just call it something else because people don't understand it. But anyway, so it's the natural language is complicated and impossible to fix. Okay. So the way that this guy views the word enjoy is to me absurd and silly. But that's just me. Now I could take a small poll, and because I'm me, I will. Hi, Wildheart. I will ask everybody in chat now, and then later on, when this video is a video, and people can comment on it in the comments section, and all of you in chat, please, even if you tell me in chat, please also post it in the comment section. That will help me out a lot. I appreciate it. You're not going to do it, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Okay. Do you agree with this guy's assessment of the word enjoy? Now, his assessment of this word was that the only thing in the world that are designed to elicit enjoyment and only enjoyment are products. So it's a very yes or no question. Do you agree with his version of the word enjoy? And his full thing is on my blog. So if you forget what he wrote, you can go read it and see it. And I'll even put that particular thing in the description or whatever, I guess, or maybe I'll pin it as a comment or something. So if you agree, so what does that mean? So at best, let's see, I have one, three, what people, maybe more. Maybe it depends. Steam doesn't know how many people I have watching me. I don't know. Uh, but I would get a very small sample of people, and they might all agree that that's a bad way to view the word. But that doesn't mean that it is a bad way to view the word. It just means I got people that happen to agree with me that that's a bad way to view the word. Already, I am being far more sophisticated in my analysis of this guy's analysis than he is with this damn word in his own book. I am giving it more serious consideration than he does. And that bothers me. Maybe because he was able to sell his book to an actual publisher and get probably more money than I did. But at any rate, it bothers me that he didn't put in what I would see as actual intellectual work. If you're going to analyze a slogan, which is dumb, but he does a lot of talking about the slogan. He really hates this slogan. And because of his view of this particular word where he says your life is not a product, he goes on to complain about this word being used in this way. He's decided that that's what they mean, no matter what they actually meant. But it gets worse for him. It gets worse for him because he happens to be a Christian, Catholic, whatever. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Because he is a product. Life is a product, and I can prove it using the Bible. His life is a product, so he is wrong. In his complaint, he's actually wrong. Life is a product. Now, you could maybe say that I perhaps got some verses from different versions of the Bible that might, because they're slightly worded differently, support my position on this. But that's a fault of the religion that they can't decide which translation to use of the Bible. And I mean, it's not my fault that I took advantage of it. I guess it is my fault, but I'm not going to blame myself. I'm just being honest with you guys, girls and robots out there. Anyways, 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. Do you not know? So, do you know, I guess would be a better way to put that. Your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God. You are not your own. You were bought at a price. You were bought at a price. You are a product. Acts 20:28. And now beware, be sure that you feed and shepherd God's flock, the church purchased with his blood. You are a product. 1 Corinthians 1:14. Who purchased our freedom and forgave our sins. Purchased our freedom. You are a product. 1 Corinthians 7:23. You've been bought and paid for by Christ, so you belong to him. 1 Corinthians 6:19. You are not the owner of your own body. 1 Corinthians 6:19 in a different version. You are not your own. You were bought with a price. 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. a different translation, you are not your own property. You have been bought and paid for. You are a product, if your Bible is correct. But maybe that's not what it means. Maybe it's not saying that you're bought in that way, and maybe you're not a product. But I'm not sure how the bleep you would formulate apologetics to get out of this. But I'm sure somebody somewhere will. But you are bought and paid for by Christ's blood. You are property of God. That's, you are a servant of Jesus Christ if you are a Christian. You are called to be subservient, to admit God's might and glory and head over you-ness. You are not an employee. You are a servant. He is your master. You are a sheep. He is the shepherd. You are a product in that view. And I can make that case, and I did just make that case, using the Bible. And it could be a sermon if I changed it up a little bit. I could make it into a sermon. Not that I would want to, but I probably could. I don't know. My point is, we're not a product. I'm not a product. I don't belong to anybody. I don't belong to God if there's no God. I don't belong to God if there is a God, because I reject that idea. I belong to nobody. And if God says, you belong to me, I'll be like, no, I don't. And God could be like, yes, I do. And I guess we'll be doing that for all eternity because I'm not going to agree with it. Now, God could do whatever it wants. It has all this power, apparently. And it's like, yeah, well, do whatever the bleep you want. It's not going to stop me from telling you I'm not your property. And I don't want to be. And nobody should want to be that. Nobody should want to be a servant and have a master. That's slavery. It's voluntary slavery. And that is a version of Christianity that does exist. Now, granted, not all churches are like that. Not all denominations preach that. Everyone is a little bit different. Maybe I suspect this guy has a very liberal church he goes to, because again, he swears and stuff in the book, and I wouldn't expect that from somebody that that had a more traditional church. You know what I mean? You can't tell me what to do. Dinner's ready. Coming. Yeah, well, yeah. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Right. Yeah. I thought about harping on the title of the book, but and I guess I will here a bit. Even if it's true that it makes emotional sense, that doesn't make it actually true. Because appealing to emotion is not a logical argument. It can be part of it, maybe, but you gotta be careful. But appealing to emotion does work, but it's not logical, because logic is doesn't you kind of like, you go emotion, whatever, blue, or at least I do, because I'm jaded. The thing is, this irritates me on so many different levels, because I used to be a Christian. It irritates me on a theological level of, this guy doesn't even know what the Bible says. It irritates me on a logical level because he doesn't make an argument ever. It's just construct after construct, straw man, more straw man, imagined opponents saying things that people wouldn't really say, not all at once at any rate. So it's like, who are you arguing against? You're not arguing against anybody real. Or annoys me on that level. And it annoys me at the level of the unsophistication of a critical analysis that he could have done for a slogan. I don't know why you would, but he could have done it, and he didn't do it. And that annoys me. And then it annoys me because ultimately he's wrong. He's wrong in that his life isn't a product according to the Bible. Which I guess goes back to the theological objections I might have, but that matters a little bit less to me. But it annoys me greatly. But this isn't written for me. This is written for Christians in this debate age, perhaps. Now it was published 2013, so it's been out a while, right? But it's still apologetics. I've been watching apologetic channels, and I've been listening to them from time to time. And there's certain ones I subscribe to because I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. And the arguments are always the same, but the apologetics is starting slowly to evolve and change. The arguments don't necessarily change, but the apologetics, which is added on to the arguments, does, and it has to, because society is changing, because people are viewing things differently, because we can't not do it especially if you're on the internet, you can't not use certain things. Well, in a sense, you can, but you can't. You have certain niches to fill, if you will. Okay. I don't listen to creationists because that would just drive me insane. And I'm already insane. It would drive me more insane, I guess that people can and do believe in odd things. It's weird to go to church. Well, no, it's not. It's very normal to go to church. Maybe one day it will be weird because that's unusual. It's typical of people in America, broadly speaking, to go to church. In other countries, not so much anymore. England's become more atheistic in a way. But there is the fact that we are still human, all of us, even though I'm part lobster, I'm still human. Hi, Red Fang. Don't know who that is. New person. Welcome. Caught me in the middle of a rant. We're still human, and our brains are going to still be susceptible to believing in stuff that is not true. And we will then defend that belief because our brain wants to do that. And we won't even know that we're being incoherent when we're doing that. So, how do you fix that? How do you cure that? How do you be a skeptic? You be a skeptic by questioning that which you hold most dear. Everything is questionable. Every idea is something that can be considered from a different perspective. Every thought that enters your brain is like, that's interesting. Let's analyze this. And not just by yourself. Don't count on just you, but count on the others that surround you to correct you or to well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And what do we do about this? And is this true? And at what level is it true? And is it real at any level? And even if it's not real, maybe we could still do something with it that would be interesting. And that's how I view the God belief. Is that, yeah, it's not real to me. It's not. I don't think it's a concept. We could do something useful with it, and maybe the thing that we could do that's more useful than what we're doing with it now is something completely different. But because I'm also an atheist, it's like, well, yeah, but we don't want God. We want to get rid of that. But people might replace it with something else, and many people have in the so-called, quote, not enough quotes in the universe, quote, atheist community, which there isn't one. I've made a blog, or had a post on my blog about that. I don't consider, it's like, well, but you're a group of people. Yeah, but we're not a community. It's not, you can't do that because we don't agree on a lot of things. And that's good. But then the way that we disagree with each other must be something that we're willing and able to talk about and address and challenge. And time and again, unfortunately, I have seen and being subject to, I won't get into it, bad ways of having conversation, either because of my own faults or the faults of others, or both. And all I can think to do is try my best to be better at being a skeptic, whatever that means in a sense. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean to be a skeptic? To doubt, but also to investigate. I was recently kind of chided, or is that even the right word? I don't know what the right word is, but recently had kind of almost a debate with a good YouTuber. Well, he's not a YouTuber. He's a guy that I know on YouTube. I don't know. I'd call him friend per se. We haven't like emailed each other. I think it's like to get to be friendship status with me. There's like like in my brain of what I call a friend has to do certain things. You know what I'm saying? No. But at any rate, had this almost kind of debate about each other's epistemology. And I think I stepped on his toe and I didn't mean to. And he fought back and I thought it was still a good civil exchange. And I think he walked away okay with it. Seems like he did. Hope he did. Hope he knows I'm, where I'm coming from and everything. Who knows? You know. But it reminded me again that the way that we interact with each other has to try to be better than the way that the religious people interact with us. And that the way that we interact with them has to be better than the way that they interact with us. And the way that we argue against them has to be better than the way that they argue against us. And why? Why set that bar up there so high? Maybe won't reach it, but that's good. Reach for the unreachable star because it's hard. Because by doing that, you extend yourself as much as you can trying to get it. Now, we're not going to get there, but that's okay. We recognize that, we understand that, we accept that. We go, okay, we're not going to get there. We set this high bar for ourselves, and I'm not saying for each other, and that's the important part too. Is hold yourself to this standard. Of course, I'm going to screw that up later, but ignore that because that doesn't count, right? It's fine when I do it, okay? It's okay when I screw up. But it's not okay with do as I say, not as I wait. But I always try to bring these complaints or whatever back to us, the skeptics, the atheists, the agnostic, the non-believer, whatever the title, whatever the label is, the ex-Christian, the ex-whatever, the former, and try to make us think about things. Think deeply and go, that's a different way of approaching this, of thinking about it, of talking about it, of analyzing it. Whether it's politics, which I dibbled my toe into. It's like or maybe it's a video game that nobody cares about. I didn't work really hard on that video. Nobody cares. Anyway, or whatever that I want to get you to think. I want to get myself to think. I want to help each other to think, and also to challenge each other in a civil way that produces the best that we can from ourselves and from each other. And that's what I want to achieve, broadly speaking. And when and if you disagree with me, great. I'm open to constructive criticism and logical arguments. Yeah. Well, yes, I do eat veggies. They're very yummy, but I also eat meat because I like it. It's very yummy. And I also, I'm a carnivore, so I eat, no, carnivore? Herbivore? And my brain went, out. The other one, the one that can do all of it. Whatever that one is. I don't know anymore. That should probably be where I end this video. Is not knowing things. Omnivore. Thank you. I knew that. Sure I did. Hmm. Look, I think humans are really simple. Actually, all animals are. We can be reduced down to three things. And these are the three questions that are not mutually exclusive. We ask these questions about everything. Can I eat it? Will it eat me? And can I have sex with it? Those are the three questions, not mutually exclusive, that we ask about everything. And then we attempt to do one of those things. Either try to eat it or have sex with it. Or maybe we try to have sex with it as we eat it, or eat it and then have sex, or then have sex and then eat it. Or maybe he eats us as we're trying to have sex with it. That's really we can reduce it down to those things. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe not everybody, but I think that broadly speaking, I can reduce all of humanity down to those things, and all other animals probably as well. Although I don't really think a fish sees a rock and goes, "Huh, I wonder if I can have sex with it." Maybe they do. I've seen animals do some weird things. See monkeys, grab a frog. There's videos on YouTube, man. Monkeys and frogs. Look it up, man. It's great. It's great stuff. How did I get on that subject? YouTube's algorithm. I swear. Anyways, I don't remember what I was talking about. Somehow I'm on this subject now. I blame Germania. That's it. Yeah, sure. That's a good way to end this video. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, humanity has developed morality. Of course, we're more complicated than those boiled down things. But at the essence of it, Anyways, hopefully this was helpful or thought provoking. I don't know anymore. Let me know in the comments, and please do comment, even if you're in chat right now, because I hate that I have to tell you guys and girls this, but it's like you don't listen to me. I'm like, please comment on the video, and you're like, you don't do it. Why don't you do it? Anyways, thanks for listening. Take care and goodbye. I'm done. Yay! Also, Germania is a Nazi. I proved it in my video. Yay! I'm sorry, Germania. That was a joke. Yay! Don't make fun of me. I can dish it but not take it. Stop the broadcast. Take over to me and you're ruining everything. Read my blog. Also, buy my book if you haven't. Bye.